What's going on YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 21 here bringing another video. Today I'm bringing a video on Kamen Rider build. This is regarding the fifth episode of the show, and I'll tell you this right now, it was a really good episode. A lot of stuff happened, some stuff that wasn't clearly evident from the start happened. Because, the main thing that people knew was going to happen was that we were going to learn more about the owner of the shop, Suichi, about, his connection to Faust, which is one of the first things we hear about, where it said that apparently he ended up working as an astronaut, as the astronaut that brought back the Pandora box, and he was the one that caused the Skywall disaster. And he doesn't know why he did it, but part of the reason was because of the fact that he was trying to save Mizora because they ended up capturing him, and the thing was that he had to act like he was listening, he was working alongside them, and on top of that, what happened was that he ended up giving them the other panel for the Pandora's box just so that he can get Mizora back. Now, again, the reason why he never told Sento this is because he didn't want him to feel like he wanted Sento to trust him and not feel like it's not worth pursuing him doing this for me. So he went out of his way to try to make him feel like it's worth trusting him. So all that's explained, and also because he felt like maybe he could be the one that would stop Faust from doing all these human experiments and killing all these people in the process, and that's why he wanted Sento to do what he's been doing. Now, on top of that, what happens is that what do you call it? We then end up seeing Sawa up here, and Sawa mentions how she found someone who might know something about Sento's past. So what happens is that Sawa ends up bringing her to this guy who has like this dog collar and who is nerdy looking, and knew him from his middle school years up to the time that he ended up disappearing and joining Suichi and Mizora. So what happened was this guy, his name is Tatsuya Kishida, and he is this nerdy, kind of weird guy who's not the most bright bulb ever, but whatever. And the thing is that apparently in their middle school to all the way up to the most recent time, they were in a band called The Lynx. Lynks, and they were together and all that stuff, and they lived in this disgusting apartment, which was not like how Sento acts now. And the thing is that Sento had a different name originally. His name was, I'm trying to actually make sure I say it right. It was Taro. It was Sato Taro. That was his original name, which part of the reason why he didn't have why he didn't have this name to begin with was because when Suichi found him, there was no name, there was no idea or anything that would have pinpointed what his name must have been. So he had no information regarding that. On top of that, when apparently the day that Suichi, that Santo went missing, he was the same day that Suichi found him. And the reason why what happened was that apparently at that time, Santo was doing some experimentations for a drug that would allow him to get money to help out Tatsuya, since he was not doing so well. And that's kind of explained later on, but yeah, it was for some drug. And anyway, following all this, eventually after seeing where he used to live and everything, we end up also seeing Sento get into a battle against Sento gets into a battle with some guardians, and then at one point what happens is that in the middle of when the guardians are attacking, they get transformed into frost ones, which Bloodstark takes control of by just snapping. And what happens is that eventually Bloodstark finally confronts Sento, and it's an interesting conversation that occurs. But the point is that finally they know each other. They're talking to each other. They don't know who. Again, we still don't know who Bloodstark is. We don't know who Night Rogue really is. We just know that they exist. And so what happens is that like Sento uses Hawk Gatling to attack the Guardians, and also attacks Bloodstark, and then he uses Rabbit and Tank to attack him. And like Bloodstark basically says, like, you have a hazard of a 3.2 as far as attack, which is good, but definitely room for improvement. And anyway, eventually they end up returning back to the base, and what happens is that while they're there, they end up discussing things regarding Smash Monsters, and apparently there's another Smash Monster that's near the Institute, so they realize that they have to keep an eye out. Well, actually, that's kind of realized later on, but the point is that like Ryoga ends up meeting Tatsuya, and he finds him kind of annoying, and also he ends up figuring out that, you know, Ryoga didn't kill Tatsurugi, the scientist, and he said, well, if you didn't kill him, and then he's like, I have to go, which is suspicious because it's not clear whether or not that means that he killed him or if someone else he knew killed him. Again, very unclear as to what that could mean, but obviously Tatsuya probably knows something that we don't know yet, and he's probably going to have more significance later on. Anyway, from there, what happens is that eventually they end up going to sleep, and also what happens is that we end up finding out from Mizora that she made another bottle from the essence of Nobushima from the last battle, where he became the Square Smash, which turns out to be the comic bottle. So he ends up trying to figure out what best match goes with the comic bottle, and it turns out to be Ninja, so it's Ninja Comic. And that's when he tries to figure out what kind of weapon he can make for that best match, which is this kind of sword that has 4 different panels. So this Ninja 4-panel sword, which allows him to have 4 different abilities. And in this episode, he only uses 2 of them, meaning that the next episode he'll use the other 2, which is good because that's good spacing overall. Anyway, what ends up happening is that from there, we end up seeing Tatsuya feeling regret for the fact that he made, Sento do the drug test for him and all that, so that he can get money. And at one point, Bloodstark appears and brings him back to Faust headquarters, where he is put under experimentation, and then through the experimentation he becomes a Smash as well. This time he becomes the Press Smash, and he's an interesting Smash monster with a pretty different design, but the point is that he ends up being attacked by the Institute's soldiers, and Gentaku's saying, like, make sure not to destroy him so we can bring him back and keep him away from the lab. And on top of that, what ends up happening is that Sento ends up eventually trying to figure out what's going on with him, and Sento actually confronts Bloodstark again, and Bloodstark gives him a hint as to who the Smash Monster is, saying, ends up saying Oni-chan, he ends up saying like, bro, and the thing is that, like, that basically tells him that Aniki, he ends up saying Aniki, and that but like in the voice of Tatsuya, giving him the hint that Tatsuya is the Smash Monster. So at that point, what happens is that he ends up having to deal with the Guardians or whatever, and in the meantime, eventually Ryoga appears. Now, the thing that I forgot to mention about Ryoga is that he ends up asking, what do you call it, Mizora, what would happen if, say, the essence were collected but then was returned back to the Smash Monster. Like, say it was sucked up and then it was returned, what would happen? And what was thought of is that it would allow the Smash Monster to return back to the Foss base. So this is part of the reason why Ryoga ends up appearing to attack these Guardians or whatever. And so what happens is that following this, Sento ends up attacking the Bloodstark at one point, and he ends up using a stronger attack due to rage because of the fact that Faust ended up turning his original friend into a Smash Monster, and his attack power goes up, and he says, I knew that you were someone to look into, because he felt like he's a challenge. He could be someone, because again, he's a game master, so he wants things to get more and more difficult, and he wants to see progression like that. So anyway, following this, what ends up happening is that after fighting Bloodstark and fighting the Guardians or whatever, he ends up fighting the Press Smash using, I believe he uses Rabbit Tank, but he also ends up using Ninja Comics, which he ends up using two of the abilities, one is a duplication ability, and the other is a fire skill. He uses those two. There's 4 panels, so 2 panels were used, and then this eventually leads to Sento having the ability to suck up the essence into a bottle. But the thing is that Ryoga ends up knocking out Sento, and then Ryoga ends up taking the bottle and removing the essence and returning it back to to Tatsuya, after Tatsuya mentions how he made Sento do the experimentations because, well, he asked him to do the experimentations because he was not doing well money-wise, and he felt terrible that he put him in such a situation, but at the same time, Sento doesn't feel like he should be upset. He was trying to help. He obviously Sento, as his former self, cared enough about Tatsuya to do so. So anyway, from there, Ryoga, after knocking out Sento, ends up putting the essence back into Tatsuya, and then Tatsuya turns into the Press Smash, and he ends up heading towards the Faust base, and that leads to Ryoga tailing him, and that's basically where the episode ends. As far as things go for what the next episode looks like, it is going to introduce a couple of things, it seems. This will lead to, I believe, Sento confronting Bloodstark again, and also it seems like we'll finally get to see Ryoga getting his changer for the season, which I don't think that he's going to be able to transform next episode, but he'll probably transform very, very soon. It's not clear exactly when he'll finally be able to transform. All we know is that he's getting his actual his dragon-shaped changer next episode that will be made by Sento. So we'll get to see that at least, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how that will happen. Could they possibly show him getting his new? Could they possibly show him becoming Kamen Rider Claws? Maybe, but I personally think that we won't be seeing that till episode 7. But we'll see. Let me know your opinions. Did you guys enjoy this episode? What are your guys' thoughts on it? Do you like the show so far? I know it's still very, very early on in. As far as things go, I do know for a fact that there are said to be at least 5 riders expected for this season at this point, possibly a 6th one, 3 being evil, 2 being good. Right now is the minimum expectation. 2 of which, 2 evil we've met, 1 good we've met, and then there's 1 good that we're meeting soon, and then a 3rd one that we're meeting probably by the end of this year. Another one might come much later down the line, but nothing has been said yet whether or not it will happen, and that one people are suspecting will be another good one. So we'll definitely have to wait and see how that works out. I'd love to know your opinions. If you guys enjoy this show, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. So until then, guys, I'm Crazy Sarah 1, and goodbye, guys.